Hi, Mason and Lucy. The story I want to tell you today is a story that my mom used to tell me when I was little, and it's actually part of a whole bunch of stories written by Beatrix Potter. And again, your mommy can find those at the library if you like the story. This story is called The Tale of Peter Rabbit. And when they say the tale, they don't mean like a bunny rabbit tail, they mean a tale like a story. Okay, so this is just a little story about Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother under a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now then," said Mrs. Rabbit one morning to her children, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there, and he was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I'm going out," said Mrs. Rabbit. And then she took her basket and her umbrella, and she went through the woods to the baker. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blueberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran off towards Mr. McGregor's garden. Oh boy. Now Peter squeezed under the gate into Mr. McGregor's garden. "Mama will never find out," he said to himself. First he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. "Oh, my favorite," he said happily. "I can't wait to tell my cousin Benjamin." But Peter ate so many radishes that he began to feel rather sick. "Oh," he groaned, "I'd better find a little bit of parsley." And off he went to search for some. But who do you think he would meet coming around the end of the cucumber frame? "Oh, help!" gasped Peter. "It's Mr. McGregor." Now Mr. McGregor was out planting young cabbages, but he jumped up and was after Peter in no time, shouting, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden. He'd forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost his shoes, and he ran faster on all 4s. Indeed, Peter might have gotten away altogether if he hadn't run into a gooseberry net. "Hurry, Peter, hurry!" urged some friendly sparrows. "Mr. McGregor's coming. Quick, you must keep trying." "It's no use," Peter sobbed as he tried to struggle free. My buttons are all caught in the net." Mr. McGregor came up with a basket, which he intended to pop right on top of Peter. But Peter wriggled free, leaving his jacket behind him. He rushed into the tool shed and he jumped into a watering can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it didn't have so much water in it.
"Come on out, you wee beastie! I know you're in here somewhere,"
muttered Mr. McGregor, searching for Peter under the flower pots. Suddenly, Peter sneezed, "Achoo!" and Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Peter jumped out of the window and ran off. Now Peter was quite lost. He found a door in the wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. He saw a little old mouse carrying peas home to her family. "If you please, ma'am, could you tell me the way to the gate?" he asked. Was all she would mumble in reply. But which way?" said Peter sadly, and he began to cry. Now, before too long, he came to a pond where a white cat was staring at some goldfish. "I must be very quiet," he said to himself. "Cousin Benjamin warned me about cats." And then Peter saw the gate. He ran as fast as he could, and he slipped under the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor, well, he hung up the little jacket and the shoes to make a scarecrow to frighten away the blackbirds. "Where have you been?" asked Peter's mother. "And where are your clothes? That is the second little jacket and pair of shoes you've lost in a week. You're to go to bed without any supper, and I'll have to make you some tea." But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blueberries for supper.